Thank you both, Assemblywoman Melissa Melendez and Sabrina Cervantes. So now it's time to introduce our first speaker, Diane Harkey. It is truly my pleasure to give some background about Diane. Diane graduated cum laude with degrees in economics from the University of California, Irvine. Is there a big echo in here, or is it just me? She enjoyed a successful 30-year career in corporate finance and banking, working in good and bad economic climates with individuals, small business owners, and leaders of publicly traded companies, has helped form the pragmatic business perspective that she brings to the Board of Equalization. Diane was elected in November 2014 to represent the State Board of Equalization's 4th District. Diane recently served 3 terms in the California State Assembly, representing the 73rd District encompassing Orange County. Diane believes that California must establish new policies that ensure future improvements in transportation, yay, water, and other necessities, so our state can retain its place as one of the top-ranking economies of the world. Diane works directly with other board members, the governor's administration, and the state legislature to make California golden once again. Diane won her election to the Board of Equalization with over 61% of the vote and is proud to represent 9.5 million constituents in the county of Orange, Riverside, San Diego, Imperial, and southernmost portions of San Bernardino County. Please help me to welcome a strong woman with presence, experience, and the ability to solve problems and help others in many ways. Diane.
This is absolutely fabulous. Look at, I have named over there. Diane, thank you. Thank you so much. No, it's wonderful to be here, and I'm glad to see so many of you here at such an early hour. But being a woman, don't you all kind of get up early? Yeah, you get up early because you want to get things done before the house awakes, because that's when the chaos begins. And we are into multitasking. Women do this on just a natural basis. I think it's because we have to be so flexible. I mean, when your child has issues, I mean, dads help, but mom's got to be there. When you have older aging parents, who normally takes on the load? Who tries to work with the schools? Who tries to keep up that career? Who tries very hard to balance when the economy tanks? It's mostly women. You know, we're versatile, we're built that way, and God bless each and every one of you for what you do and what you will have to do. Your role is extremely important. I'm elected to the State Board of Equalization. I'll give you a little background on myself. I was born in Joliet, Illinois, state penitentiary time. For any of you that know, that's kind of the big industry there. And I moved to California when I was 10. I lived in West Covina for about 9 years, went to high school there. And then I moved to, my dad had issues, my mom had never worked, my dad got sick, my brother was in Vietnam, and I had to get out of school early, which I did at 17, and went to work to help the family. You just did what you had to do back in those days, and I think it's still the same. And I helped make the house payment. I actually made the house payment and made the car payment. My mother took care of everything else, and my 2 younger sisters were still in school. A couple years later, my brother got back from Vietnam. My dad was healing and able to go back to work. And so I moved to Newport Beach, and I never looked back. I stayed in Orange County, and I loved it, and I've been there ever since. Because I graduated at 17, it's not hard to figure out, and I went to work, that I didn't go right to college. It took me until I was about 23 before I decided I'd better get back to work in college, because I began working with a bank called Security Pacific Bank when I was 20 years old, and realized, prior to that I was a phone operator, but prior to that, I realized that I had to really get an education, because I was basically training people on a career path that I wanted. So I put myself back to school at nights with Orange Coast College and Saddleback College, eventually wrapped it up at UCI and got my economics degree. It was not easy, a lot of starts and stops, but I'm really glad I did, because now I'm 66 years old. I've had a full career, 30 years in banking and corporate finance. I decided at the age of 50 that I wanted to run for elected office. I quit my career, ran for city council, and was mayor in 2 years, in the assembly 2 years later, and then after 6 years in the state assembly at the Board of Equalization. I've had a great life, but like many of us, it didn't just begin overnight, and it's something that you have to work around. I've got a daughter that's 33 years old, very proud of her, and she's doing some great things. So, many times like I said, we just have to be flexible. I remember getting up with a newborn, trying to figure out what to do, how to get on the freeway at 5 o'clock so I could either be in Santa Ana or be down in San Diego. A lot of times I had to put my career on a little bit of a hold and just stay where I could just earn some money, or even go 3 days a week in a lot of times, because back when I decided to go part-time, I was paid 3/5 salary, but I actually worked from my house full-time and in the office 3 days a week. But that's the way it started. I was the first vice president in a major bank to be part-time. But, it was not without a penalty. But that being said, it allowed me to continue to grow and stay in my field of endeavor. So, in 1989, I was still working full-time, but my city was we weren't even incorporated. So in 1989, I decided to help my city incorporate, which we did. I actually started in 87 as a community association president for Capistrano Beach, which was a loosely held community, 3,000 people that don't want to join anything, but will come in for a political reason. It was not an HOA. So, we had a lot going on. We did incorporate. Capistrano Beach, Dana Point proper, and Monarch Beach became a 6.5 square mile city with 7 miles of coastline, and beat Laguna Niguel. Well, we got the coast, but there was a reason for that. It was financial reasons. Laguna Niguel is our great neighbor and always good people, and we just, they had a bigger city and a bigger population. But I guess my message to you, and to any of you here, male and female, is what Melissa Melendez said. Do not be limited by what you think you can do or by what others think you can do. And use the men in your life, because they will often be the hardest on you, make the biggest demands of you, and make you achieve what Mom didn't make you achieve. Mom would coddle you, help you, and that's our role. We're not supposed to be that tough, really, and I am. I'm very tough. But that being said, I think the guys in my life, my father being number one, my brother being number two, and my husband being number three, none of them gave me an easy time. My dad used to hassle me all the time, restrict me, watch my clothes, not let me go out, not let me do this, not let me do, really a dad. And, but when I was 17, I'll never forget what he said to me. He looked at me and he said, "You're going somewhere," because I would battle him every step of the way. And he knew I had brains, and he made me use them. And he made me be disciplined, and he made me perform, because he wouldn't accept anything less. My brother, very similar, and my husband, those guys, they're always a problem. But that being said, he kept pushing me out when I wanted to go back, when I wanted to just kind of hide, kept pushing me out. And I think that's why, if I have success, which if you deem what I've done to be successful, and from a little kid starting out with nothing, nowhere, and no opportunity, I consider that I've had some success. you know, it's because of those strong people. It's because of my family relationships, my sisters, my mothers, everybody that formed me and everybody that has formed you. So I'm not sure how much longer I have. I'm not going to take a whole lot longer, but I think it's really important for you to thank your county of Riverside for putting this fabulous event on. There's just nothing like it. I want to thank Bank of America, another brilliant idea, Kaiser Permanente, and all your sponsors. Yay! Yes! And there's just a ton of them that have helped you. I guess they've taken those down. But I want to share one story with you. As you move along in life, always remember those that you know, keep your contacts. It's very difficult to do sometimes because you're so busy, but keep those contacts, keep those names, periodically follow up with people because you never know when they'll be very helpful. And I'll tell you just a quick story. When I was in the legislature, we were always hassling back and forth with the governor's office over something. And I was a Republican, you know, so I was the obstruction party. And that was my job. And so anyway, I would go, you know, they were trying to do some things with realignment and local control funding and all this other kind of stuff. And so I would always be making a point for my district, my cities, my suburban areas that really somehow seemed to get left out of things. And so one time, I had to deal a lot with Nancy McFadden, which was the governor's, in essence, chief of staff. She's really a brilliant lady, very, very capable. And I had some neighbors across the street from me that had an issue, just a doctor and a wife, and they had an issue, and I wasn't aware of it. I ran into Sylvia in the grocery store, as you will run into your neighbors, and I said, "So Sylvia, how's it going?" You know, because this is right when the healthcare started changing over, and her husband is a provider for Medicare and Medi-Cal and some other things that he bought his practice in. I said, "So how's it going?" And she said, "Healthcare sucks." And I said, "Why? You know, what happened?" And she said, "Well, you know, we haven't been paid in 2 years from the state. You know, things are behind. We may have to give up our practice." Her husband was working on the weekends in Long Beach at an emergency facility for another job. They couldn't afford their lease anymore at their practice because the state hadn't reimbursed them in about 2 years. So you can imagine if your payables were held up for 2 years, where would you be? So I called and I said, "I'll take care of it." I called a number, a senator that I knew that was really involved in healthcare. She gave me someone to call. I called that person. They gave me someone to call. I called that person. They gave me someone to call. I called that person, and they gave me an 800 line. And I said, "I'm not calling an 800 line." "Well, that's probably the fastest way you'll get any help, believe me." I said, "Well, no, honey, I'm not going to call an 800 line." So I got on the phone and I called Nancy McFadden on her personal cell, left her a message, and explained the dilemma. I had all the account numbers, everything. Explained the dilemma to her, and she called me back within 24 hours, gave me the head of one of the departments. That person took my call. My neighbors had their check that week, reimbursed that week. So I want to tell you, leave you with one thing. Remember who it is that you meet along the way. They'll be helpful to you. And always, please, call your elected representatives if you have problems. Call me. I will, if I can't help you, I'll get you on to somebody who can. I do not want you dialing 800 numbers or pressing pound, pound, pound. Do not do that. You know, do not do that. That's what people are for. That's what your elected leaders are for. God bless you. I'm getting the hook. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I know you have